guys, welcome to part 2 where we make the jacket. If you haven't watched part 1, go and watch part 1 to catch up. For the jacket, I cut every pattern out, including the lining, and we were good to go. This was the sleeve pattern. I manipulated it to make it a bit bigger. Now for the back pattern, I sewed along the center back, but I decided to make some adjustments which you will see as we go along. So for the front, I decided to add to the design, and I added these panels that will join together, and this is where they'll go on the front of the jacket. So at this point, I was just marking everything and pinning everything down, and then I sewed along the shoulders and I added the sleeves, and now it was time to add the shoulder pads. Now for the shoulder pads, you attach them around the arm, where the arm joins the shoulder. So the next step was to sew the belt loops. I sewed them all, and then I turned them over and set them aside. I also made straps that will go around the arm. So this is how everything turned out with the belt loops added. I made the belt, and the front panel was done with the extra design complete, and I also added the straps at the arm. So the next step was to add all the closure items, including the eyelets and the snap fasteners, and then it was time to add a buckle to the belt, and this was the process. So this is how everything turned out with the snaps added and the buckles and the eyelets. Now it's time to add a lining to the jacket, and everything you do to the actual fabric you also do to the lining. As you can see, the back panel, I added a portion just to make it a bit bigger, and I also did the same for the lining. So the first step is to insert the lining inside the jacket. It looks like it's already sewn, but it's not. From this point, pull the lining at the armhole to be the same length as the actual fabric and fold it downwards. Do the same for the actual fabric. The amount you fold downwards doesn't matter at this point. I should have folded a bigger portion for this next step. Go between the lining and the actual fabric, move along that space until you reach the place that you folded. Now pinch that portion that you folded inwards and pull it out. I was struggling because I folded a small portion. So if you're doing this, you can fold in a bigger portion and you'll be able to grab it. So you do that step to help you understand how you're going to sew the sleeve. And from doing that, you'll then pin around the armhole. Make sure that the seams are all aligned, the seam to the actual fabric and also the seam to the lining. And then pull everything back in place. Now that the sleeves are lined, it's time to move on to the next step, which involves you pulling out the lining from the jacket. Now pull it out from the neck to the point that it's directly opposite the actual fabric, and both the lining and the actual fabric have the wrong side facing up. Then pick up the lining and also the fabric and make sure that the right sides are facing each other. Pick out from the hem and align all the seams, making sure all the seams are aligned, and then pin everything down. When you do that part correctly, you'll realize that the arm will form a loop from the lining to the actual fabric. Now that the hem is done, it's time to move on to the front extension where the snaps are, and this part is almost similar to a zipper. Always remember right sides together. So I'll pick the right side of the lining and place it together with the right side of that extra fabric at the extension, and then I'll sew it along the whole length of the extension. So I'll do the same for the other side and then turn everything over. Now this is how everything will look like. The extensions are lined, the hem is lined, the sleeves are lined. Now the only part remaining is adding the collar. I added the collar, and this is how everything turned out. So I learned my collar pattern drafting from another YouTuber. I'll leave the link down below. And I used a convertible collar pattern, and this is how it turned out. This what happened when I think about you. I get in my feelings, yeah. I start reminiscing, yeah. Next time around, fuck, I want it to be different, yeah. Waiting on a sign, guess it's time for a different prayer. Lord, please favor for me. Do this one favor for me. As always, it's a 10. It's a 10. I'll always be giving myself 10s. But I know there's room for improvement, but it's always a 10. Just self-encouragement. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you all on my next video, hopefully soon. Bye. Just give me all of you in exchange for me.